is, my name's Richie Venton. I'm an immigrant, I'm a socialist, I'm a Democrat, I'm a working class fighter, a trade unionist elected to represent my members in a Scandinavian multinational. I don't think that makes me a nationalist, but it does make me somebody fervently in favour of independence. And I just want to say a few things about the Scottish Socialist Party in relation to this. Not about me, but about the SSP. Because I was mentioning to somebody earlier tonight, it's almost exactly 15 years to the day, or the night, since I spoke at a huge meeting in here in this room in 1999. It was the Scottish Socialist Party public meeting, and the title was Oppose Capitalist Poverty and Inequality, Fight for an Independent Socialist Scotland. The party had just been established a couple of months earlier, and the point I'm making is that we have consistently fought for an independent socialist Scotland ever since, unashamedly, determinedly, tirelessly, as Democrats, as socialists and as internationalists. And the leaflet that I produced for that meeting, I can recall, I borrowed a line from a song, popular at the time, from a Welsh band, the Manic Street Preachers, for those that know it. And the line was, if you tolerate this, your children could be next. And what have we had in the 15 years since then? And should we tolerate it and its continuation? Well, if that 15 years, the first 11, were a Labour government. And some of the things we've had on that page should be a reminder that the escape from the Tory savagery we face today is not just to sit back and accept the United Kingdom Westminster government in the hope of a Labour government under Miliband. Because they had their chance. And in that period of 11 years since this meeting in here that night, then inequality rocketed. For example, the income of the highest and the lowest paid on average is 173 times, not the 13 Jim mentioned that he aims at, 173 times as much for the chief executive as the average worker in his workforce. Inequality increased under Labour, where, for example, the richest 10% of the population seized hold of 40% of the new wealth that was created from 1999 to 2009. All years of Labour government. You can't even blame the Tories. And we also, of course, had the decision to renew Trident at the cost of £100 billion, or the recent decision of buying 14 fighter aircraft whilst children die of poverty and children haven't got shoes on their feet in some of the schools in our inner city areas in Scotland. And we had, of course, a situation where young people, including the lad over here, well, I don't know if you were there, but people like him, were dragged into an illegal, bloody war for oil and empire by a Labour government. That is some of the heritage of the United Kingdom that we're obviously better together. That is a reminder of why we need not to tolerate this, or our children will be next. Why we need to change with a yes vote for a start. And of course, the coalition that's now in power. The choices we face on the 18th of September. Some people have used the expression, there's a choice between independence and the status quo. Well, if you'll pardon the corny reference to what I don't regard as music, it's not the status quo we face, it's one direction, backwards. Because the Tories have announced what they plan. They plan £25 billion of cuts. They plan to include an attack on all housing benefit for under 25-year-olds. The plan on this occasion to attack pensioners as well, a section they left alone because they tend to vote in high number. But now they want to attack them as well. And we have the prospect, of course, of further job losses, further mass unemployment, further starvation, further examples of the situation that a woman mentioned to me who rejoined the SSP recently after years of absence and being just disillusioned. A pensioner. She's got friends active in the church down here and there. She lives in Glasgow. And she told me the story that they're involved in setting up food banks, and somebody walked 5 miles for a food parcel, and the women involved took pity on them and give them a lift home again. That is in the 21st century, under capitalism, under the United Kingdom Westminster government. And what I want to appeal to you to consider is not just to vote yes, but to do two things that combine with that. One is to broadcast, as this meeting was entitled, to broadcast proudly the socialist case for independence, in tune with the woman over there somewhere that mentioned that you hear a case tonight that's blanked out in the media normally. Because there's examples of policies and ambitions and aspirations that we can fight for that will convince people to vote yes on the 18th of September. Whereas if it's just seen as swapping flags and emblems, they'll tell you to get lost. As far as I'm concerned, and the SSP is concerned, we're not out to swap flags, we're out to swap systems. That's what we're after, to change the system. And in doing that, we welcome many of the things put forward by the SNP government's white paper. Childcare being one prime example. To give the opportunity, particularly for women, occasionally men, to go out to work with professional, caring and educational childcare available for their children. That's one enough reason, in a sense, to vote for independence, if you want a reason. But the Scottish Socialist Party doesn't limit itself to the ambitions of the SNP's white paper. If we did, we wouldn't be the Scottish Socialist Party, we'd be the SNP. We actually believe we should go further than that. We, for example, believe independence, voting yes, gives you the chance to then organise and fight and campaign for radical redistribution of wealth through, for example, not the £6.31 minimum wage, not even the £6.50 are being gloriously offered in the near future now by the government, not even the so-called living wage of £7.45 an hour. We think, for example, if it was based on 2/3 the average male wage in this country, £9 an hour should be the national minimum wage for everybody over 16. We welcome the White Paper's announcement of renationalising, or whatever word you want to use, taking Royal Mail back into public ownership. That's a good enough reason to vote yes, but add a few others. Let's organise, as Colin said, for public ownership of the railways, of the buses, of the transport system, as a first step to implement in the future one of the Scottish Socialist Party's pioneer policies, which is integrated, publicly owned, free public transport, as exists in some cities in parts of Europe and the United States. We also want scrapping the anti-union laws, so that people like me can function as a union organiser in work to represent the members and better their wages, better their conditions, better their job security and so on, instead of being faced with a jailhouse of anti-union laws that tries to prevent people being capable of standing together and defending themselves. We want public ownership of the oil and the gas and the electricity and the renewables, because right now wind power, wave power is not just a source potentially of fantastic, fabulous fortunes for the people of Scotland. Right now, it's a source of fabulous fortune for landowners and for multinational energy companies. That's obscene in this day and age, and a future Scotland would have the power, and the Scottish Socialist Party and other socialists like Jim, no doubt, who might even be in the party by then, would fight for an independent socialist Scotland that have public ownership of assets such as that. I'll finish by saying this. We're not just a talking shop as a party. Some of you might have seen us out on the streets recently. Some of you might have seen us out on the streets over the years. You may have seen us, for example, campaigning against the obscenity of young apprentices, modern apprentices they call it. I mean, I'm a fanatical student of English, so to speak. I love the language, or any language. It's only what I kind of half speak. But in English, modern to me is advanced, it's new, it's going forward, it's progressive. And yet to talk about modern apprenticeships, and what do they get? £2.68 an hour is the official legal minimum wage. We fought against that on the streets. We lobbied the councils to end it. We fought it regardless of which party was in office in those councils. We fought against the bedroom tax with other people, other tenants, including people in this room. And we said, tax the boardrooms, not our bedrooms. Tax the rich, not the tenants. Evict the Tories, not the tenants. And we fought and we defeated the bedroom tax, in a sense, by the fact that the Scottish Government is now going to pay the bills for the tenants. That is not enough, in a sense. It means taking money off other services, but it's a huge leap forward compared to what we have down south. It's a hint of what can be done with a fully independent Scottish Government, to have a welfare system based on need and protection of people and not on punishment, demonisation and driving people to suicide through bedroom tax, ATOS tests and other things. The Scottish Socialist Party is not a talking shop. We give solidarity to workers in struggle. We join with tenants in campaigns for their rights. We stand up for ordinary people. We stand up for the environment. We stand up for a clean, green, socialist Scotland, independent of imperialism, independent of capitalism, independent of NATO and independent of imperialist wars. I think that's a vision worth fighting for. And my appeal to you is to do two simple things tonight at the end of the meeting, after having listened, debated, discussed and thought about all these things. It's been fantastic. The wealth of the people of Scotland, as Jim and others referred to, is here evident in this room with the intelligence of the points and discussions and viewpoints raised. But